Hello and welcome. In this video I'll be showing you how to make this shabby blue rose folio. The printable for the project is available in my Etsy shop, so if you'd like to follow along, I'll leave the link to the shop and to the specific printable in the video description. The project will turn out like this. It's a little booklet folio with some embellishments and inserts. There's a booklet with blank pages that you can write in or decorate, as well as some tickets. A little dangling stopwatch. And flipping the page, there's two tags, one of which is a specimen tag with a moth, and a lined page for writing. You can leave the folio as is, or further decorate it as you see fit. It can even be put into a larger junk journal if you'd like. So without further ado, let's begin. These are the supplies I used for the project. There will be a list in the description if you'd prefer to see it that way, and also some possible alternatives if you don't have some of these items handy. Once you've downloaded and printed out your printable, go ahead and cut everything out. On the bottom of each page on the printable, you should see instructions of whether or not to print the page on regular printer paper or on cardstock. If you can't get it printed on cardstock, don't worry, just go ahead and print it on regular printer paper and it will work just fine. We're going to start by assembling the main folio. So go ahead and grab these 3 pages. Grab the cover page and fold it along these 2 lines. Once folded, it should turn out like this. Now take the rose page and fold it along these 2 lines so that it ends up looking like this. And lastly, fold this page along these 2 lines. Like so. We're going to glue the 2 rounded inner pages back to back. But it's important to note when you're gluing that you don't want to glue together the extra folds that we made. You want it to end up creating this flat little spine here. It should not be glued like this where it makes a sharp corner, so make sure to avoid that. I'm going to be using some regular school glue and a paintbrush to glue these pages together, but using something like a glue dot runner or a glue stick is also an option. I also always recommend to put a piece of paper or cardstock underneath what you're gluing to protect your work surface. So go ahead and spread out a thin layer of glue on your page and glue the pages together. Once more, it should have turned out like this. For this next part here, you're going to need either some chain, some ribbon, or some string. I'm going to be using a piece of chain that's roughly 5.5 inches long. If you don't have any of those items, I also included this rope pattern strip of paper that you can cut out of the printable. If that's what you're going to be using, you're going to want to bend one of the ends like so, and glue it to the top of the inside spine of the cover. But if you're using chain, ribbon, or string, you're going to want to glue it like this to the top half of the inside spine of the cover. I'm going to use tacky glue because it has a stronger hold. Next, we're going to glue the inside pages to the cover. So let's go ahead and do that. And before gluing it in, make sure that everything's right side up, and then glue them together. Once that's fully dry, it should have turned out like this. Here's also a view of the top and bottom of it. Now this is optional, but if you'd like to give it a more vintage look, you're going to want to take some distress ink and an applicator. I'm using a makeup wedge, but a tissue or a paper towel might also work. And go ahead and distress the edges. Here's what it looks like after doing that. Next, we're going to glue this striped corner pocket into the folio. Go ahead and distress its edges if you'd like. Apply some tacky glue to the corner. and put it in place, lightly pressing to glue it on. While that's drying, we're going to make the little pockets for the tags. Fold over the 3 tabs on both of the blue striped pieces and distress both rounded edges. Now flip one of them over and also flip over a beige rectangle and put it inside. Put some tacky glue on the tabs and fold them over to glue them in place. You will end up with a little pocket. Go ahead and do the same thing to the other one and distress their edges. Now we're going to glue in the pockets to the folio like so. So go ahead and do that. Firmly press to make sure they're glued in nice and strong, and let that fully dry. Now you may notice that your pages might be warped from all the glue that you've used in the project. To fix that, just go ahead and lay it flat underneath some heavy books for a few hours or overnight, and that should flatten it out. But only do this when the glue is fully dry, otherwise the pages might stick together. While all that is drying, we're going to work on the little booklet insert. Start by taking all of the inside pages and folding them in half. Now we're going to glue each page to another page, like so, which is going to connect all the pages together. The only ones that should be left unglued are the 2 outside pages. Once dried, it should turn out like this, where you can flip the pages. Go ahead and distress the edges if you'd like. Now we're going to glue the outside and inside parts of the cover back to back. And use some scissors to trim off any excess white paper that may be sticking out of the edges. When the cover is dry, go ahead and fold it along these 2 lines so that it turns out like this. Distress the edges if you'd like. Next, we're going to glue the pages inside the cover. So go ahead and apply some glue to the back of the outside pages and glue it into the cover. Once it's all done, it should have turned out like this. And once all the glue is fully dry, if the pages are warped, go ahead and lay it underneath some heavy books to flatten it. Next, we're going to work on the tags and embellishments. Take your tickets, fold it in half, then flip it over and apply glue to one of the halves, and fold it over to glue it together. Next, you're going to want to use some scissors to cut out all of these little semicircles to give it that ticket look. It should turn out like this. Lightly bend it in an accordion style if you'd like, and distress the edges. Next, we're going to glue the front and back together of this little stopwatch. Next, you're going to want to make a hole right here. If you have a hole punch that's small enough, you can go ahead and use that, but I didn't, so I just had to poke it through. Distress the edges and set it aside. Next, take this tag, fold it in half, and glue the 2 halves together. Use a hole punch to make a hole, and distress the edges. If you'd like, you can also take some ribbon, fold it in half, put the ends of the ribbon through the hole, and then loop the ends of the ribbon through itself, and pull. If you'd like to, you can secure it with a bit of tacky glue, and also trim the ends of the ribbon at an angle. Now we're going to work on the moth specimen tag. Go ahead and glue the 2 moths back to back to make it double-sided. It should turn out like this. I also distressed the edges very lightly. Now we're going to want to take a piece of clear packing tape and put the moth right in the middle, and then take another piece of clear packing tape and sandwich the moth in between. Be as careful as you can when you're doing this, because it's really easy to end up with fingerprints or bubbles or wrinkles in the tape. It should turn out something like this. Now take the tag and crease it in half, and distress the inner edges. Then flip it over, and place and center the moth where it's going to go in this little window here. Then take a permanent marker or a pen, and we're going to draw a little outline here of where we're going to cut the packing tape. We're going to want to cut it so that it's a little bit bigger than the window. I drew another outline in blue so that you can see where I'm going to cut it, and I ended up deciding that I didn't need the extra little tabs at the end that I drew. Go ahead and cut it out. Then place it back and center it to where it's going to go, and use some tiny pieces of clear packing tape to secure it in place. But here at the top of the tag where you're going to hole punch it, make sure that you don't get any tape there, otherwise you might not be able to hole punch it. So I recommend just putting the tape where I am. It should turn out like this, and also none of the tiny pieces of tape should be visible through the window. Then take some tacky glue and put it on the paper portion on one half of the tag. I recommend using tacky glue instead of school glue for this tag because it's going to have a stronger hold. Then go ahead and fold the other half of the tag over to glue it in place. And if there's any extra glue, just wipe it off. It should look like this. And once it's dry, use a hole punch to make a hole. Distress the edges and add a ribbon if you'd like. And the finished tag should look like this. If any of these are warped, you can put them under some heavy books once they're fully dry to flatten them. Next, we're going to attach our little stopwatch, and since I used chain, I'm going to also need a little jump ring here. But if you use string or ribbon, you can just loop it through the hole at the top of the stopwatch and either tie or glue it. I'm going to use some pliers to open the jump ring, and then loop the stopwatch through, and the end of the piece of chain, and then close the jump ring with some pliers. Now our little stopwatch is attached, and we're finally ready to add in all of our inserts and ephemera. Add in your mini booklet and your tickets into this corner pocket, then flip the page and add the tags into their designated pockets. And you're all done. Here is one last flip through of the project. Thank you so much if you followed along, it really helps to support my Etsy shop. I hope that the tutorial was easy to follow and that the project was enjoyable to do. If you'd like to follow me on social media for more junk journal ideas and projects, that information will be at the end of the video and also in the description. Happy junk journaling and hope you have a lovely rest of your day.